Greetings, my name is JC,
And I'm Ian.
and this is the Gamer's Gaiden. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about mobile gaming, specifically cell phone games. But before we get into that, Ian, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing a bunch of things this week, JC.
Cool.
I know last week I talked about playing Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon.
Right,
So
which finally came out,
the Ritual of the Night came out. Well,
the Switch version.
yes, yeah, we got Ritual of the Night. So I picked that up. I am a little disappointed.
Oh, why's that?
I mean, I wasn't expecting visually it to quite stand up to the console versions
Okay.
because it is a port. But the button inputs,
Mm-hmm.
there is a definite lag.
Oh, okay.
At first, I thought it was just me being bad.
How much of a lag is there?
I've actually watched some test videos.
Mhm.
It's close to like 100 milliseconds, I think.
Oh, wow.
It's noticeable.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they are working. Like they've recognized that they've made a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
and they are working to correct it. So at least that's positive.
Yeah.
There's also some sections where there's a lot of things going on
Okay.
screen, and I do find a little bit of a slowdown.
Oh, okay.
But again, this is something that they are working on. So hopefully everything clears up.
Are both the issues apparently Switch specific, or?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I know, all of those issues are on the Switch.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the testing showed like 4 millisecond or 40 millisecond lag
Oh, okay.
on button inputs on console.
Damn.
So that's not
Mm-hmm.
too bad.
So, did you not get much playing out of it? Did you just put it down then?
Yeah, I played for about probably 2 hours.
Okay.
I got through the first boss and then kind of got into the main chunk of the game, and
Okay.
it was just not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give it a little bit of time. I'll wait for the patch,
Right.
and yeah, hopefully that comes out soon and I can kind of jump back into that. But in the meantime, I did play a little bit of Mutant Football League. I know a few weeks ago we were talking about sports,
Yeah.
and I saw this, and I picked it up for my Switch,
Cool.
thinking it would be everything I'd wanted from a, I don't know, Mutant League football remake,
Right.
clone. Yeah, and it's a lot more football than Mutant, so
Oh, okay.
I was a little bit sad.
There's less carnage.
Yeah, there's like, even though they let you dial up the carnage to wherever you want,
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't feel the carnage.
Oh, okay.
You know, it just wasn't there. You go through an entire tutorial, and it's all football based, and I'm like, this is not. I'm like, how do I rip a dude's arm off, or like, when's the best time to smash a dude? They really don't go into it. It's very much just football. I mean, they do have some. They've got all the, I guess, the characters.
Right.
Like you've got super mutants and orcs and
Okay.
yeah, the like xenomorph looking aliens, skeletons, all the stuff that you would expect. It's way more football.
Okay.
I spent a little bit of time with Rage 2,
Okay.
thanks to superfan Rachel,
Oh, okay.
and
Let you borrow the game?
she she got it for me.
Oh, cool.
I know. Presents are wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, no, I had a really good time with it. It's bright, it's colorful, lots of vehicles to drive around in,
Right.
and lots of unlockables, progression trees. It feels kind of like Doom a little bit.
Oh, okay. Like
Like
New Doom?
the combat feels a little bit like Doom in that it's more beneficial for you to be rushing into the fight
Okay.
than to hang back,
Right.
because most enemies will drop health.
Right.
So you shoot this dude and you'll pick up some health as you're running through.
Oh, okay.
So it's fun. I'm looking forward to giving you more impressions about it the deeper I get.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, I had a couple friends over last night and we spent a good couple hours
Mm-hmm.
playing Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit older, but as far as like cooperative party games go, it was a whole lot of fun. Man a spaceship, try to bring love back to the universe
Oh, okay.
through cosmic space bunnies.
Right.
Yeah, it's I think it was free on PSN. I think
Oh,
that's
okay.
how I got it, like a few months ago. So I mean,
Right.
if you've had a PlayStation Network subscription for at least, I'd say the last year, you probably have it in your library.
If you accepted it, yeah.
If you accepted it. So I mean, take a look. If you have some friends over, try it out. It's a lot of fun.
How many players is it?
It plays up to 4.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you have a captain, well, someone who mans the ship, someone who mans the shield,
Right.
and then there's 4 turrets around.
Okay.
You also have a cannon
Mm-hmm.
it's like a single-use rechargeable cannon. So you trigger it once, does its thing, and then takes some time to recharge.
Okay.
So you've got all these various stations that people can be at. We had 3.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that the 4th would have been ideal,
Oh, okay.
just having an extra body instead of having to constantly move to one person moving to all sides of the ship.
Oh, okay.
You would be able to kind of section yourself off.
Is it kind of like a defense game then?
You're defending the ship,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also attacking because you're trying to free these cosmic bunnies
Oh, okay.
from their cages.
Gotcha.
And they use their rainbow powers to unlock. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. We
Okay.
had a whole lot of fun with it. Yeah, it was a real big surprise. But JC, what have you been playing?
So this week I've been playing 3 games basically. Got Super Mario Maker in the mail
Oh,
on
nice.
Friday whenever it came out. And so the main game has about 100 levels
Wow.
that are made in the story mode. And the story of it is basically Princess Peach's castle's kind of been blown up and you got to rebuild it. And you got to...
Who blew it up? Or is that going to be a spoiler?
No, it happens right away. So it's this dog presses a reset button. I think it's like I've never played the first Mario Maker, so you have to forgive me if this is kind of like a known thing, but I think it's like a reference to something that you hit like this reset thing to reset an entire level, and it was something that you would have known if you played the first one.
Okay.
So yeah, the dog hits it, and then kind of scatters away, and then all the toads are panicking, and you have to do jobs in order to get money and then tell the builders to work on certain sections of it. And so
Okay.
it basically, to do that, you just do all these short levels. Most of them take between 2 and 4 minutes. There are a few of them. I've done about 70% of the levels now.
Wow.
And there's a few of them that are like 30 seconds where it's kind of like a race where you got to get a certain number of coins or kill a certain number of enemies, for example, and then get to the end within a certain number of time. And each level seems to have its own kind of gimmick. Some of them are puzzles, some of them are time-based, like I said. And there was a few of them where they're like auto-scrolling, and they got all sorts of different mechanics and levels that it gets you to go through. And so far, it's been pretty fun. So my plan with it is that I'm going to complete the main campaign. I think I did all the side campaign stuff because there's extra people like around the area that you can get quests from. So I did all those, and I'm almost done all of the other levels that it gives you. I'll go through the actual hands-on tutorial that it seems to have on how to use the interface and making your own levels, and then I think I'm going to make a few levels and stuff like that.
I'm excited to play them.
So, yeah. And put a good amount of time into Mario Maker. The second game that I played this past weekend, basically, is Samurai Shodown.
Ooh.
And, yeah, it was kind of funny because I was actually watching... I don't block ads on YouTube personalities that I actually like follow. So ad came up and it was Samurai Shodown. I'm like, oh shit, that came out on the 25th, and I haven't gotten the game. And because you actually get the DLC for the season pass for free if you get it by the 30th.
Oh wow.
So that'll be over by the time this episode comes out. But it was an incentive.
That's a really good incentive. Wow.
Yeah, because I think the DLC is like close to 30 Canadian.
Jeez.
So and it's like 4 or 5 characters that are going to come out. I think it's 4 of them that are going to come out every couple of months for new characters.
That's
And
good
yeah,
support and
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So I haven't played Samurai Showdown in a really long time, and
Well, we haven't had one in a really long time.
yeah, it's been a while. I actually forget. I don't follow Samurai Showdown that much, so I don't remember when the last one came out. But I think the last one that I played was like the second one that was re-released on the PlayStation 2. In the collection, the anthology collection. So whenever that came out, I played the second one quite a bit because I knew that as being one of the better ones. But my experience with Samurai Showdown is pretty limited. Although I played the Last Blade, which is kind of similar. But yeah, so it's kind of an interesting system. It's a little bit slower paced than any of the more recent modern fighters that are a little bit quicker paced, like the anime fighters, for example, which
Okay.
are fairly frantic and have a lot of linking combos and stuff like that. This one has combos, obviously, as any fighting game generally does. But the cool thing about this one, which I really like about the system, is that if you do any special moves, basically they're very unsafe. So if you mess up on them, you can get punished a lot, and you can
Oh.
lose like a half or 2/3 of your entire health bar based off of a punish.
That's
Yeah,
that's
like
rough.
if you have your full rage bar and then um, punish somebody's combo and EX it because the rage bar is full, then you'll lose like half your health and stuff like that. So because of the way that system works, you kind of it's a lot of risk reward. And a little bit slower pace because you're playing footsies with each other quite a bit. I played some online matches. I didn't do so well. I think it's because a lot of the people who have bought this game aren't casuals, and they're more of a like a fighting game player. Yeah, I think I played 6 games. I won one. With 2 of them, I went 1-2, but lost. And then the other 2 or 3 games that I played, I just hands down lost because they were like a lot better than me.
Well, it kind of released at a rough time, right? There's been a lot of like big titles out now, and
Yeah.
unless you're like an enthusiast or just like super flush with cash,
Hmm.
it's probably going to be one that you'll take a pass on for at least a little while.
Yeah, and its aesthetic for the casual isn't necessarily, I don't think, as good as like Dragon Ball Fighters, for example,
Yeah.
where things are very easy to do. Like I think you can macro some of the moves and stuff like that in Dragon Ball Fighters. If
I mean, I
can
love
recall.
fighters, but I'm horrible at fighting games.
Yeah, but it's pretty fun. The graphics are really great. The boss, I made it to the end boss, and it has SNK syndrome, which basically means, for people who don't know, SNK bosses are notoriously cheap. It's very hard to read their moves. It's super annoying. I tried to beat it with one of the characters, and I just couldn't do it. So I reloaded and then tried to beat it with the main character, and I still haven't gotten it, but I at least beat the first form because you have to beat 2 forms of it.
Okay.
The first battle is like one way, and then once you beat the end boss, then she transforms into, she doesn't have a mask on anymore basically, and the veil it's a veil actually. The veil disappears, and then she gets angry, and that second form is really annoying. But yeah, I am having quite a bit of fun with it. I'm gonna try and maybe master a couple of the characters, and then try again online, maybe as whenever the MMR, because the game's only been out for a few days. It came out like 5 days ago or something like that. Whenever I got it,
Yeah, it's fairly new.
so yeah. Actually, no, it had only come out like the Wednesday, and I got it on that Friday. But anyway, so it's it's fairly new, and yeah, if you like fighting games, and you want a different style of fighting game, I would definitely recommend it to you. But if you're not, if you're just a casual with fighting games, I don't really know if this is the fighting game for
I
you.
got 2 questions for you before you move on.
Yeah.
Have you been playing it with the just a controller or
So
fight stick?
So funny story about that. My fight stick, obviously, but the
Obviously.
the no, I'm just used to fight sticks. But my original 8-arc fight stick doesn't work because it's a PS3 fight stick, so I had to buy a new one. So I ended up buying a brand new fight stick, which is PS4 compatible. because this game actually doesn't have legacy controller support, which means that any of the older controllers that were compatible with the PlayStation 3 don't work with this game. They might
Okay.
add that again in the future, but I ended up getting a PlayStation 4 stick from the same company. Yeah, I just got it in the mail actually today, and it's pretty good. It's basically the same thing, but a little bit of an upgrade from what I had before. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. So the first day that I played it, I played with a controller, and I moved over to the fight stick today, and whenever I got the new one in the mail, and I tried to a couple of remappings with the keys because it's basically A, B, C, D button system. For new fighting game fans, they might not understand what that means, but on the old SNK machines, there'd be 4 buttons, and that's what the buttons would be named. They're just basically 4 different colors, and the whole entire game system works off of those 4 buttons: a light, medium, and heavy attack and a kick. And you can press 2 different buttons in different combinations to do certain things, such as like a guard break or a parry, which is another system that this game has. Though I didn't see anybody using parries online, so I don't really know how important that is, but it used to be super important. So I'm just hoping that some of the people are new to Samurai Shodown and they just don't really understand how parries work. But
Well, that sort of answers my other question too, because I
yeah.
was gonna say, is it more as a someone who doesn't really know fighting games, would you say it would be more similar to like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat?
So it's nothing like Mortal Kombat.
And nothing like Street Fighter.
Yeah, its parallel is The Last Blade. It's kind of a game on its own. And The Last Blade is an SNK arcade game, which has weapons as well. Although
So that King of Fighters?
yeah, so kind of, yeah. Everybody, the cool thing about this is that every fighter seems to have one unique element that makes them good. Which is kind of like the way that they balance it. Although some of the more advanced characters are a lot harder to play because they basically their moves have a lot of unsafe frames. To put it into simple terms, so the unsafe frames basically make it harder to play certain characters, whereas some of them are more basic, kind of like you have your like the main character who's kind of like the main character in Street Fighter, and yeah. So if I were to graphically though, it kind of looks like Street Fighter 5. For visuals, the game does look really sharp. Yeah, and its netcode as well seemed to be okay. I did play against somebody in Japan, and it was really slow. There's a lot of latency, and I played somebody in, I think, Brazil, and then it was better, but there was still quite a bit of latency, and that could have been their personal internet connection. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But I played a few people in Canada and a few people in the United States, and some of them were a bit more latent, but it seemed to be workable at least. So I think if I try and keep, you can't really control who you're playing against because same region, from what I understand, is like people within Canada, and it doesn't include the people in the States. So I kind of have to open all access regions, so I can't prevent like different people. But maybe they'll change that in the future. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so that's kind of the main difference between this and a different fighting game is really like how you parry and punish different moves, because it's kind of like kendo, where like eventually like somebody goes all in and you might lose like 2/3 of your entire health bar and then like win the game because of that, and then it's jabs and short combos and stuff like that, and before that. So that's the reason why I like it. It's a little bit more slower paced because like if you do a heavy attack, there's a little bit of a pause, and then if you just do like a normal heavy attack with some of the samurai with a large katana or nodachi, for example, then if you don't contact on that, then you can definitely hard punish off of something like that, for example. But if you do like a light jab, then and this is kind of true with any fighting game, but it's more prominent in this one. I find anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the last thing that I would say about this is that there's a few new characters, and they seem kind of cool. One of them, from what I understand from the online community, it's more of a Blue Blaze type character. And then the other one seems like a high technic character. She has a shield, and I'm not really sure if she's strong or not, but there was one streamer who was playing them. They were playing them all day yesterday for, well, not all day, but like for a few hours yesterday, and I watched them for a little bit, and they were talking about the character, and they seem a little bit more of a technical style. So I found that kind of interesting, because you have your basic like easy to play champs, your moderate champs, and your harder to play champs, just like a lot of other games like League's characters or even Street Fighter and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'll have to check it out.
The last game I played was League, and yeah, I don't really have much to say about League this week. I haven't played ranked. MMR's kind of fucked with normies, and yeah, for some reason League is throwing diamond people and platinum people at us, and it's really, really annoying. Where my team is 1 gold, which is me, a few silvers, and then maybe a bronze out of the people we know, and they're throwing like platinums and diamonds at us. And sure, MMR isn't everything, but these players that we're playing anyway, regardless of what their MMR is, still have like a really better macro and than a lot of the players on our team. And even at the micro level with their champions, they tend to know what they're doing a lot better with their combos and their synergies and stuff like that. Getting into new matchups that I've not seen before, and it is kind of interesting, and I'm just hoping that I'm at least learning something from it, so that whenever hopefully I get into a higher elo bracket, whenever I jump into ranked, that it'll at least be useful. A lot of people are playing Trist, and I've gotten a lot better at her jump in. I've kind of, as I mentioned in previous episodes, I'm a Zyra main, so I have a main root, and I've learned to basically not root as often as I used to, and hold it back a lot more. And I'm watching this one North American streamer who plays Zyra to try and learn new tricks from him and stuff like that, because he's I believe he's Diamond or Master tier.
Okay.
So and he's a one trick Zyra. And I've learned quite a few things from watching his play, and yeah, just trying to get better, and yeah, trying to complete quests. There's the arcade event going on right now, and there's a lot of cool emotes and ward that you can get. Like there's a KO emote and a game over emote, kind of like the Ezreal skin where it says KO in the back or whatever.
Yeah.
You can actually get that as emote now.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of cool. So I'm trying to get enough tokens to be able to unlock a bunch of that stuff. I'm not really interested in any of the champions this time around, because the new ADC came out, which I've only seen as jungle, and they always figure out how to play it in jungle.
No, I mean, you can jungle anything.
Except for Yumi. But with only having like 600 health, I don't really think it's possible. But
Anything's possible.
Maybe if she has a mid laner who runs around with her, then sure. But yeah, the new champion I've seen a few times, though she's banned a lot. Seems to have some pretty interesting mechanics, but I don't really understand what she does. And I read the patch notes on what her abilities are, obviously, but like actually like hands-on experience against it, I've barely fought it. So we'll see if I think it's too powerful or not, but that's basically what I've been doing over the last week in video games. All right, so let's go into cell phone gaming or mobile gaming, depending on what you want to call it. Let's start off with what kind of impact mobile gaming has had. Definitely one thing that I've noticed with the one of the most prominent impacts, in my opinion, is that there's a lot more filthy casuals, as you wanted to put it.
As I wanted to put in.
Yeah.
Best patch notes ever, or show notes ever. Yeah, man. I mean, we can joke about filthy casuals, but really, it just it's opened it up to a lot more people.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a cell phone in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're gonna find a moment when you have downtime, and you're at like a doctor's appointment, or you're waiting somewhere.
Yeah.
Or you're on the bus, subway, even like a flight.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what am I gonna do? Oh, like I'll play Bejeweled or Candy Crush or whatever, right? Like it's
definitely allowed people to play video games in a more casual format, in less amount of time. Because whereas before, if you played like an RPG, even today, obviously, that you be sitting down at like a 5+ hour session, and not everybody has the time to do that. But these games allow you, play it for maybe 2 minutes and then let it go, and then come back to it later, which allows for a lot more casual games and casual gamers.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
It's even something that like I see my parents playing who haven't played video games in like years. So I mean, yeah, to see my mom sitting with her iPad playing like Candy Crush or whatever.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I mean, it's not necessarily for me.
Yeah.
But
even my mom, who doesn't really hasn't ever really played games at all, like I know she has a couple of puzzle and word games on her phone, and she plays them like periodically just to pass the time and stuff like that. And yeah, it's definitely really interesting because I'm like, haha, you're a gamer now.
Yeah, and like it's come so far. Like I mean, even the earliest phones, you had a lot of them had like Snake, just preloaded on.
Yeah.
I remember the old Blackberries. Used to have a game called Word Mole.
Oh, okay.
Oddly enough, I did kendo with one of the dudes who programmed that.
Cool.
And it was a really good little like word search game, but it was preloaded on your phone. So I mean, again, if you're just stuck sitting somewhere, you're okay. I'll play this word search game. It makes it a little bit more accessible. The sort of issue with the easier access, though, is that's kind of pushed a little bit more into the like games as a service.
Yeah, that's very true.
You have sure like you're kind of giving away these games like download Candy Crush for free, but if you want to play more than a level, you're going to need these coins that are going to cost you $5, or you're going to have to wait until 3 hours from now to play another level or to try that level again. And that's it. It's good and bad. Like it's great that these are free things that you have access to and can experience that, for people, especially people who wouldn't play video games. The price is not inhibitive in any way, shape, or form, and as long as you're not getting into it as a service, it's
and kind of to in parallel to that, the games being free kind of stemmed from a casual mentality of like, why would I pay money for a game, right? And that's the ideology I find is more prominent on the cell phones, and it can kind of derive from there, where it kind of sort of its impact affected some to some extent, even like your core gaming consoles and PC prices.
Oh, absolutely.
Because where you had games were generally only 2 tiers of prices, now we have a lot more tiers of prices. We kind of had like the budget title, as we've talked about before, where like now that's kind of like around $50 or $30, And then there's like the $70-$80 game which is the brand new price, right? Because it's the AAA brand new price, I guess, versus a non AAA brand new price. But now we have multiple different tiers, and I find that I think that kind of stems a little bit from the cell phone games being so cheap. Some of them are only $1, some of them are free, and they find other ways to get money, which is what you're alluding to with the games as a service.
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest is loot boxes.
Yeah, because those, well, I don't know the specific origin story of the loot box, but it definitely is a prominent thing in cell phone games, where not only with the games as a service, where like you were saying, you buy things to just help augment the game. Like a lot of them, they just throw in that loot box where it's just a random roulette of gambling, essentially, where it's like, yeah, I got the rare or something like that, and it sometimes makes or breaks games. And we're now seeing for the last few years and even more kind of in our core gaming, so to speak, for lack of a better term.
Well, yeah, because you have things like free to play games, like your League of Legends, Dota, Fortnite.
Yeah.
Where
and those games are free to play, but they get their money through other means, some more nefarious than others, and yeah.
But I mean, they all have these loot box mechanics, which it is just gambling.
Yeah.
Really, and that's fine. I mean, they have to sustain their business somehow, but you have that then seeping into the actual full price releases. You've got
like Battlefront or something like
Battlefront.
That's a good example.
FIFA. It's
because like FIFA 02 didn't have all the same games as a service and loot box methodologies being used in its game design as it does in like 2019 and
exactly, and that I really think that that cell phone gaming was kind of the big cause of that.
Yeah, because companies look at how much money they could be making, and then they take their existing franchises, and then that transfers over.
Yeah,
it's definitely a big impact for sure. Yeah. Continuing on though, crossing over is a big thing about the cell phone games and things like that too, because whenever we used to think of games a long time ago, like the 80s and 90s generally, we kind of thought of like, okay, like these are the games that I get for this consoles and those are the games I get for that console, and then we started to get more cross functionality, especially with like the death of Sega, where like Sonic's now on everything, for example, and you'd have like the EA games, sports games, which would be on everything.
And originally, when we first started getting color screens and better processors in phones, we would get these, very stripped down ports of major releases. I remember playing through a port of Splinter Cell on my like old Motorola Razr, and
cool.
a really good, actually, I thought what was a decent, like, stripped down version of Prince of Persia.
Right.
Warrior, I think, was Warrior Within. That was the third one.
Oh, okay.
And it was very stripped down, but it played very much like classic Prince of Persia.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was really cool, because that was
the one that I've played through.
Yeah, and that was a great game. Whereas it was a little less edgy than Warrior Within.
Right.
But yeah, you had these, and then like as times kind of went on, especially moving into the like iPhone, you started getting more and more releases that were just for mobile. Yeah,
and then as time moves on, we start to have games that were originally on mobile being transferred over to the consoles and stuff like that, because it's just the cross functionality between all of the platforms basically has now added in the cell phones, to the point where even new games actually have a release on the cell phone if it's available, because you don't want to basically I find it's more taboo now to unless it's a first party game. I find it's more taboo now to basically not have cross functionality. If you don't have cross functionality, you're alienating sales.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
if it works and is doable, there's really no reason not to.
Yeah.
I mean, it was wonderful in the early days where you started seeing ports essentially of your cell phone games
Mm-hmm.
onto console, where we got things like the Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery,
Mm-hmm.
Wolfenstein RPG.
Mm-hmm.
There was even a Doom RPG as well.
Right.
They were really cool cell phone experiences
Yeah.
that moved over onto console because they were good,
Yeah, they're great games.
and then on the flip side of that, now you get big releases,
Yeah.
like the Banner Saga,
Mm-hmm.
the Reigns,
Yep.
they have a mobile version,
Yeah.
and something like Banner Saga works so incredibly well
Yeah.
on on a tablet or an
Mhm.
iPhone or Android.
Yep. Yeah, because whenever cell phones and tablets become more and more powerful, when we've kind of gotten to that point now, it's very easy for them to emulate a lot of the different games. And I see it moving in the future where we have like things like Stadia and stuff like that, where it's kind of like you're streaming the game and playing it rather than actually having it.
Yeah.
It'll become more and more prominent in the future as well. It's probably kind of where it's going forward with the crossover as well, where you can potentially get it on the PS4 or the PC, and then or just run it on your phone via like a remote server or something like that too. One big type of game that we wanted to go over is location-based gaming.
Yeah, because that's been kind of a big thing with mobile gaming, is this idea of it like the augmented reality
Yeah.
location-based game.
Especially since you can bring your cell phone practically anywhere, and you do practically you do bring it everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So let's merge that together and create this location-based gaming like Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is built on the framework of Ingress.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, yeah, we have Pokemon Go. And I remember when Pokemon Go came out, if you went to a park at night that whole summer, you would find crowds of people there
Yeah.
catching Pokemon, and getting excited about, like, being outside
Yeah.
and catching Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
It was the strangest thing. I mean, we've got Harry Potter Wizards Unite out now, which I haven't really seen too much of that, because I think people are actually still on the Pokemon Go hype train.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 of my friends still play Pokemon Go like religiously.
Yeah, I still
do
know people
raids
that
every
too.
day.
And I mean, I haven't played it since it originally came out.
I stopped playing it maybe after 6 months because I was just like, this isn't really Pokemon to me. So
Yeah, it just didn't feel the same. But I mean, again, it's that casual. It's bringing people into gaming, and it's getting people outside too.
yeah,
Like,
which
it's
is good.
just an interesting way to mix gaming, getting outside. I mean, they tried to with the Game Boy Advance and Boktai,
Mm-hmm.
which didn't work. I don't know if anybody remembers Boktai. If you do,
Mm-hmm.
I'm super excited. But yeah, no, it's just it's an interesting concept, the location-based gaming,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's something we're going to see a lot more of. And probably not. It won't be something that'll transfer over to console or even handhelds.
Yeah, it can't really unless you cheat with like GPS tracking, but they have ways of trying to figure that out. It's not the best, probably can still trick it, but yeah, that's the whole point, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly it. But I mean, moving on, there's also been that huge rise of like board games
mm-hmm.
available on phone.
Yeah.
Like you've got you get these really great like mobile versions of mobile single player. I mean, they will support multiple players, but you can play them on your own. Versions of like games that you would need at least a couple of people to play
and organize to play.
And in some cases, like with Catan, I say Carcassonne. Some people say other ways, but I say Carcassonne. I mean, that one's my favorite because it takes care of all the scoring.
Yeah,
I think that's probably one of the better ways to play it, and you don't have to clean it up.
At least learn it.
Yeah. It's also like Ticket to Ride. That's a whole lot of fun and supports multiple players, which is great.
Yeah.
If you're playing it on tablet. Ascension for me, that's one of my favorite like solo.
Yeah.
Ascension's a great game, but it's also a lot to set up and play, particularly by yourself. You can do it if you're that lonely, but it's way easier to just pull out your phone and play.
Yeah.
You know, you can add in the expansions. You don't have to worry about shuffling like 400 cards together.
Yeah.
You know, you get this real easy experience. And it handles all the game mechanics for you. And I keep going back to that point, but it's wonderful that it handles the mechanics for you. So if you don't necessarily know all of the rules, you're not going to miss something.
Yeah, the guys that I play board games with actually play quite a few of the board games that we play on their iPads and iPhones. And there's been some cases where we found out that we were doing a rule wrong because of the game, which was really nice.
That you get that. And then on top of that, beyond that, you also have games like board games now that do require a mobile element to handle various aspects of it. Like there was the XCOM board game, which had you needed to have a tablet or cell phone, which would give you various orders. It would pop up random events.
Oh, okay.
It was
like the old VHS games.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Much like the old VHS games, you now have board games requiring that that virtual assistant.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
yeah, the one thing that I really like about like board games on the phone is the card games. Like, they're not really board games, but they are very similar. Because you can play like Hearthstone and Star Realms on your phone. But one of the weird things that I find that you can't do on the phone is play the actual core MTG Arena on the phone. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
Because there is the MTG 2015 that you had showed me.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's still a passable. Well, it's still Magic. You can still build your decks, even though there are core decks to build off of, as well as some various other sets and unlocking boosters, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it's not the like official like arena, which is their new and current.
Yeah, I just think that's probably a logical step for them to take because it'll open up their market, but it'll probably come eventually. That and Gwent, I think maybe a cell phone game will come with that eventually, hopefully.
See, that's what I thought it might, but that's been a huge inhibiting factor for me with playing Gwent. I mean, I tried it on PC and I wasn't a huge fan of it.
Right.
Because it wasn't as similar to the game version of Gwent as I would have liked.
Yeah.
But if it would have been on mobile, I would have definitely played more of it. I mean, I play a ton of Hearthstone when I'm bored because it's there, it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's really easy to get into. Yeah.
Cool. The other thing with cell phone game releases that's pretty big, which I really like, probably one of my favorite aspects of it, are the retro releases.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that basically are from the Atari 8-bit era to the 16-bit era, where they've been reconfigured to sort of work on a cell phone with touch interfaces and stuff like that. Yeah, so they've got like a lot of games from Square, Final Fantasy being one of the big ones.
Yeah, you can get most Final Fantasy games
yeah,
on
pretty
your
much,
cell phone.
If it's 2D, definitely. There's even new 2D Final Fantasy games that have come out.
And there's even the pocket version of Final Fantasy 15.
Yep. And even like you have some of the 3D Final Fantasies as well now.
Yep.
And I'm sure more of them will come, especially like with cell phones getting more strength as time goes on, because they're just small computers.
They really are.
Yeah, it's really the video processing capability that they're lacking in, because it doesn't have necessarily they don't necessarily always have like a graphic card in them, like a Tegra chip or something like
Yeah.
that. But if it does, then it opens up the possibilities of like what a cell phone or tablet is able to play.
Well, we even get I mean, still retro-ish, but less less aged. I mean, I think you can get the original Grand Theft Auto series.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say original. The 3D Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, GTA 3. And...
Yeah, it's like 3 Vice City and San Andreas. I think you can get
Right.
all of them on mobile.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
Yeah, because that's like PlayStation 2. That's like not that long ago, but
No, and those are huge games.
yeah.
I mean, San Andreas is a good, 20, 30 hours
hmm
of gameplay on your phone.
Yeah. No, I bought.
That's a lot of bathroom visits.
But even so, because like they're like people do like mobile gaming in the respects of like handhelds, like the Game Boy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And because these games started to be released, a lot of the Sega games and Square games, and even some shmups and stuff like that, like R-Type and 1945, I bought a Bluetooth controller that the top has a piece that comes out, and you plop your cell phone in there, and it actually just holds the cell phone, and you have an actual
cool.
like controller that looks like a PlayStation controller. And I bought that specifically so that I could, because I don't really like the interfaces on the actual screen itself. I'd rather use a controller.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the on-screen.
Yeah, because I originally tried to play Sonic 4, with the episode 1 and 2. And I was having trouble beating some of the levels because of the touch interface.
Yeah.
So I just bought this Bluetooth controller, which, like I said, has that attachment for the actual cell phone to hold up on the top. And then I was easily able to beat the levels. And then I started like getting more games and stuff like that with it, and just be able to play some of these old retro games or shoot 'em ups and stuff like that.
But like wherever you are, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have a copy of Shining Force.
Cool.
That's been on my phone for ages
Yeah.
now, and I've never finished it because I don't spend
Enough time with it.
I haven't spent the like 40 hours or so that you need. Probably not 40, like 20
It's
hours.
like 20.
But I haven't spent 20 hours solid on it.
Yeah.
But what will happen is I'll be somewhere.
Mhm.
I'll have some time to kill. I won't want to use my data and play Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Like I've been in foreign countries. Like I was on a long bus ride in Mexico at one point, and I had my phone with me.
Yeah.
So I busted out my phone and I played like a solid hour of Shining Force.
Mhm.
The classic games tend to not have a huge drain on your battery.
Right.
And yeah, it's the experience that I would have
Yeah.
had as a little kid,
Mhm.
just with, I mean, crappy touchscreen controls, but with something
Yeah.
like Shining Force, you're not feeling it as much as you would be with Sonic.
Yeah.
So I mean, with these classic RPGs, you're still getting the experience, just literally wherever you are.
Yeah. But that's the cool thing about it too, because it can literally become what used to be an old handheld, like the Game Boys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you do have the option of getting those controllers, and there are a lot of games where it is not that bad of an interface, and it is modified in a way that it does make it playable to be able to play through some of those games using the touch interface. But yeah, so we've come up with some suggestions with different cell phone games that we really like, and yeah, so I guess I'll start. Probably my favorite cell phone game, and I wish this game would come out for the PC or something so that I could use like the mouse or something. But regardless, it's still a great game no matter what the platform is. And there's 2 of them in this series, but the game is Monument Valley and Monument Valley 2. So what this is basically a puzzle-based game. And all the puzzles are basically based off of MC Escher's artwork. Mainly, if you know Waterfall or Stairways, which is basically these perspective arts, if you're not aware. Um, and yeah, so every level is a different puzzle that you have to basically rotate different the map or different interactables on the actual environment, and you can tell whether or not it's interactable based off of its color, or it's a knob, or there's little dots or something like that that signify that you can slide something back and forth and something. And it's a really really fun game. The graphic design of the game is very pleasing.
Yeah, it's very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, the it's kind of like a cell shaded style almost, and the music in the game is and sound effects are actually very background um, ambient music, where it's kind of soothing and it's simple but effective, and it doesn't overdo itself too much in every respect, and it just concentrates on the puzzles, its core mechanic, and I think does really well because of it. So if you're interested in puzzle games and you want something to play through, doesn't take too long, maybe a few hours at most, and both of them are very very good games to play through. Ian?
Space Team. I will always recommend Space Team. Always. Yeah, I feel like if you have a cell phone, you should just download a copy of Space Team. Leave it on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't take up a ton of space. And what I love about it is when you run into people who have Space Team.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not a game you can play by yourself.
Okay.
It does require at least one other person.
Mm-hmm.
You can connect wirelessly, like on your network, or via Bluetooth.
Right.
It gives you those options, and you run a team on a spaceship, and everyone gets a little piece of the console on their phone, and different orders will pop up.
Oh, okay.
And when orders pop up, you shout them out. So you shout out these orders,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully somebody has that button, that knob, that switch,
Oh, okay.
that they can interact with in that way. And a lot of the words are funny,
Mm-hmm.
and weird. So you're yelling out these odd phrases,
Right.
and you're laughing and having fun with people. It's been the kind of thing where if you're out at like a concert,
Right.
and between bands, and you see, you have a few friends who have it, and you kind of huddle up and have this, cute little fun few minute experience. Or if you're waiting in line for something, or you're out,
Right.
don't want to say at a fancy dinner, but
Sure.
whatever,
Might not
wherever
be the best-
whatever the
best-
case may be.
Yeah.
It supports, I think, at least 4, maybe more.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I've only ever had good times with this. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Space Team, just tuck it on your phone. When you meet me, be like, "Hey, let's play Space Team," and I will say sure every time. What else do you got, JC?
So I'm a very big fan of the Baldur's Gate games.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no
Surprisingly.
idea.
And surprisingly, the cell phone port, tablet port, is actually not that bad. It's very, very playable. Basically, what they did was, since you can, you have to move the mouse around to click on a lot of different things on the interface, they just converted that over to touchscreen.
That makes sense.
And the interface on the bottom was changed so that you can select it a little bit more easier via touch interface, and they made a few modifications and changes to make it a little bit easier, since you can't use a keyboard. And if you want to, you actually can use a keyboard and mouse if you have a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse.
Wow,
So it
okay.
can still be played the original way. I used to play this on my tablet. I used to have a 7-inch tablet and played through the game, and it was really, really fun. I used to play it at my lunches for a good month at my old job, and during my lunch break, I would play through Baldur's Gate. And they've done the original Dragon Spear and Planescape, and I think there's now a Neverwinter Nights version.
Icewind Dale?
I don't think there's an Icewind Dale port, but
Not interested.
Yeah, but yeah. So I only have the BG one, but the original BG one. But yeah, it's really fun. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it on like a small like 5-inch screen, but if you have like an XL size phone or a small tablet or something like that, it's definitely really cool port. Ian?
Hitman Go?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, any of the Go games. There's a Tomb Raider, and Deus Ex as well. Square did a really good job with kind of, I guess, boiling down the core mechanics of their games.
Yeah, I played the Tomb Raider one.
Yeah, and I mean, they're very simple, but effective, and I found that I had a lot of fun with Hitman.
Okay.
Just interacting with the environment, following patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like I said, they boil the game down to its essence and still deliver that same experience,
Right.
just in a very, I guess, board game style.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about pleasing aesthetics, that they are very, like, pleasing to the eye.
Cool.
They look very good, and yeah, great games. Like short little levels, decent experience. Check it out, JC.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a guess. Can I take a guess on your last one?
What's that?
Farmville. Nope. No. It's Candy Crush. It's got to be Candy Crush.
I've never played either of those, so.
Okay.
But if you were to guess puzzle games, it would have been correct.
I mean, I guess Candy Crush is a puzzle game.
That is true. Yeah.
Correct.
Semi-correct. So my last suggestion are puzzle games. I basically really like puzzle games, period. And if there's a game on the cell phone that I'll see that's like especially a free one, I'll pick it up, the free version of it, and then play through a handful of the levels. Cut the Rope is a good example of this. It's very simple. I used to play it quite a bit before, like waiting for the theater or in a line or something like that.
Yeah, I actually bought Cut the Rope.
Yeah, it's a really fun game, and just games like that. Another game is The Room.
Ooh, I love The Room.
Yeah, I've played through that game. It's pretty fun. It's available on cell phones, and
I think there's 3 of them.
Yeah, they keep on making new ones. It's kind of cool.
I think it's actually jumped to console too.
Is it? Okay.
I think you can actually get The Room at least on PC, maybe
I know it's on PC. Yeah.
Maybe on Switch.
Cool. Yeah, I think I saw The Room on Switch actually. Now it makes sense because the actual Switch itself has a touch interface.
That's true.
So it would make it play very similarly as well. But yeah, they make a lot of puzzle games for the cell phones, thankfully, and those generally, any of the time wasters, those are
the time wasters. I mean, Cut the Rope is a great time waster.
It is, yeah. It gets harder too, like a lot harder.
Oh yeah, but I love how they throw like a new mechanic in.
Yeah.
Each level. Or I guess each stage.
Yes.
Yeah, like you get a new mechanic each stage, and then it just kind of progresses. It gets like a little bit harder each level. Like it kind of introduces it, and then it pushes you to figure out more and more complex ways, and will sometimes include other elements from other stages. But it doesn't just like, hey, you're on to like stage 5. Here's like 30 different things to figure out.
Yeah, and we had an episode where we talked about game design, and that's one of the things I loved about certain games and game design. That's one of the reasons why I like Cut the Rope, is because it very progressively taught you new skill sets and then blended them together very, very nicely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of levels. There's like 100+ levels.
Oh yeah, like I haven't played it in years, but I know when I had it on my phone, they were constantly updating with like new levels, and it's a holiday, here's 5 levels, and all of it was free.
Yep.
I mean, after the initial purchase.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
Yeah, and even if you didn't want to purchase the game, there is a lot of free levels as well to entice you to get it.
wow.
I originally played the game, the free version of it, and I don't remember. It was probably like 20 or 30 levels or something like that were free.
Wow,
And
that's a lot.
I plowed through them in a few days, and then I was like, oh, there's like hundreds of these. Like I'm gonna purchase this game just
Yeah.
to keep on getting the new stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Ian,
Yeah, I got one more. Plague Inc.
cool. What
I
game
think
is
this has actually jumped over to PC
Oh, okay.
since then, but yeah, it's a you play as a virus.
Right.
You like pick, or I shouldn't say virus. You play as a disease of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's like viral or bacterial or man-made,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then you mutate yourself. Like you get mutation points. You get to decide how you want to spend those
Right.
to help with things like transmission, um, just like drug resistance,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff.
So it's
And
kind of like the inverse game idea than Pandemic.
yes, yeah, instead of like ridding diseases from the world, you're trying to rid the world through your disease.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so generally what I tend to do is I ramp up my my infection
Oh, okay.
skills. Skills I guess transmission. So I find a way to spread as quickly and as far as I can.
Right.
And once I've got kind of the whole world infected, then I'll start ramping up my
Severity.
yeah. Yeah, just start.
That seems to work, or
Yeah, I mean, it's generally worked for me. It depends on the I guess the strain,
right.
because I know like some of them spread a lot slower,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're easily transmittable. They still have
Cool.
a slower spread rate. And I mean, Iceland, they're always the hardest to get into.
Right.
But it's really interesting because all the different countries of the world will have different responses. They'll close their airports. They'll close their ports.
Right.
You can follow your lines of transmission from country to country.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch that world map go from the normal, I guess, like grayish color that it is to completely red with your infection. And then eventually totally black when you kill off all mankind.
Wow.
But I mean, there's a neat little news ticker follows.
Oh, it's got like a newsreel.
Yeah, it'll have like kind of like BS stories
Right.
rolling through, and then you'll see like oh, riots break out in.
Kind of like SimCity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
No, it's really good, and whatever. I mean, I don't think none of these are expensive.
Yeah, no.
Like
I don't
none
think
of these
any
are more than
Some of the
$10.
Square games are like $20 games, but if
Yeah,
you really
your
like the
Final
game,
Fantasy
then-
stuff is going to be a little bit more expensive,
Mhm.
but I mean, I don't think anything else is more than $10, and you'll get easily $10 worth of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it's kind of our thoughts on mobile gaming. I mean, neither of us are huge mobile gamers.
Yeah. But that's the thing about mobile games, because as we spoke about it in the impact and everything with these games, is a large aspect of it is that it's the casual aspect of them, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it so big, is that it appeals to so many people and broadens the horizons of who you can get to play your games and stuff like that.
Oh, exactly. And
Yeah.
I'll find myself if I'm somewhere with internet access but bored,
Mm-hmm.
I'll look on the App Store.
Yeah.
I'll see what games are out and available, and does anything catch my interest?
Yeah, because
Oh, this looks kind of neat. This is $5. Well, I'm sitting here for an hour.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll download this. I'll play this.
Mm-hmm.
Because $5 for an hour. I mean, I've spent $80 on many games that I've gotten not even an hour's worth of enjoyment out of. I mean, you spent like how much on Anthem? And sorry,
Well, I got more than an hour's worth of content out of that, so
I said enjoyment. I said nothing about content. I said enjoyment.
Anyway, we're gonna have to agree to just bury that game.
I just like giving you a hard time about it because it's funny.
Yep.
For me.
I know.
Maybe for you guys too. But
Probably.
yeah, so that's kind of our take.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. Feel free to click the like button here and subscribe over here.
Probably there and there.
So, you know what?
But regardless,
Listen,
it's fine.
that's done.
Yep.
And yeah, catch us next Wednesday. We'll be back. No idea what we're going to talk about.
We'll figure it out.
We know. It's a surprise to you only. So,
Fair enough.
yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
See you next week.